Sean, what came first, the decision to make the movie Tangerine or the decision to shoot on an iPhone?
The decision to make Tangerine came long before the decision to shoot on the iPhone. That was shooting on the iPhone was something that we eventually got to because when we started budgeting the film and looking at how we were going to make this on the limited budget that we had, that option eventually arose. So I'd say the idea of Tangerine came long before.
And also to the beauty of the iPhone being less conspicuous than using this?
Right. I wish that I could say that I knew about all the benefits that the iPhone was going to reveal to us. And yeah, I wish I knew about. No, wait, I'm sorry. Let me start over. I wish I could say that I was going about this intentionally and I was going to embrace all of the benefits that the iPhone would be giving us. But quite honestly, a lot of those benefits were revealed to us while we were shooting. And we just took advantage of them, and then we made the most of what we had. But it was really started from a place of like a budgetary constraint. Yeah.
Did anyone try to talk you out of shooting on an iPhone?
Oh, most definitely. We had many people. When I mentioned it for the first time to some of my producers, all the eyebrows were being raised. I mean, I even had to. I was trying to talk myself out of it, to tell you the truth. And once I convinced myself, then I had to convince the rest of the crew. But we did it by doing tests. We shot a lot of tests, and at one point, Technicolor was nice enough to allow us to bring some footage over there and blow it up on the big screen to present it to our financiers and our producers and just know that this thing would hold resolution, look presentable on the big screen.
And forgive me, when I came over today, I was thinking that it was one of the first few films to be shot on feature films, but apparently it's not, and that's nothing that you've ever made a statement on. You've always said actually that's not true.
I don't know how many films have been shot on the iPhone. A handful, maybe even two. I'm not sure, but I do. We never said we were one of the. I mean, we never said we were the first iPhone movie. I actually know the makers of another one called King Kelly that came out in 2012 that was at South by Southwest. And it's a wonderful movie. It's very different, but they shot on an earlier version of the iPhone. And they were going for a very different aesthetic. But we can say that we are the first iPhone film shot in true scope. Okay. Yes. Because we had the anamorphic adapters given to us by Moondog Labs.
Oh, nice. Okay. And so how does that work with the lens, like on the iPhone?
Well, first off, I found them because of a Kickstarter campaign. They were in their prototype stage, and they were just trying to get money to actually get this product up and out there, right? So I reached out to them, and they were. I had to drop Mark Duplass's name, of course, and but they were very happy to lend us 3 of their prototypes. They sent them over. Basically, what it does is that you're still using the iPhone lens. It's just an adapter that fits over the lens and allows you to capture your image anamorphically. So when you're actually looking at the image on the iPhone, which is basically our monitors on set, everything is squished. So you know how in the old days you would watch a film on television, you would watch a Western, and everything during the credit sequence had to be squished in order to read everything? That's how everything looked while we were shooting. We always had to imagine what the frame would look like once it's stretched out. Then when you get home and you're in post-production, you get the footage on your computer, you're able to stretch it out and see the way that the final product will be. So yeah, it was interesting. Radium Chung and I, we co-shot the film. Radium Chung is a wonderful cinematographer and solo shot my previous film, Starlet. We shared duties this time just because of schedule, and also we both wanted to be camera operators on this. But anyway, we were joking around on set about how we had to get so used to imagining what the final frame would look like and how it would stretch out. But then we thought, that's how it was done back in the day. I'm sure that's how Sergio Leone was doing it, where he would have to look at probably a squished image. They didn't have the technology to have monitors on set and stretch this thing out properly. I mean, so we're doing the same thing that people were doing only like 30, 40 years ago, so it was fine.
But were there certain things then that when you did look at the stretched image, you realized, oh, you know what, we need to go back and shoot that because we missed some little vital thing, or no?
For the most part, we were okay.
Oh, great.
We were okay. And remember, there were only a few shots in which we had to be incredibly accurate with framing, because the film still has sort of a docu thing going on, which allowed for handheld material. So, you could always be slightly, you didn't have to be absolutely perfect. There were a few segments within the film that are locked down, and in which the framing is extremely precise and calculated. And in those cases, no, we were fine. I think by the time we got to those sections, we were pretty confident we knew what we were doing.
That being said, do you think you'll go back and shoot another film?
On the iPhone? No. Well, I mean, you never know where you're going to be, but I enjoyed the experience, and it was fine. And I know that already in the last year and a half, the technology has advanced to the point where you can already, and the app that we used, which is called Filmic Pro, that's already on another version or two since we shot, and you can capture 3K on it. And so already in the year and a half, advancements have taken place within the iPhone, filming community and devices. I'm sorry, and apps and tools that you can actually, get something better than what we got. But at the same time, I do fall into the camp of, if you can shoot film. That's me. I just haven't been able to for the last couple of films because of budget. My goal is always to try to get the budget to shoot on celluloid again before it goes away entirely. So that's what I'm trying to do with the next film. But you never know. You can never say.
Sure.
I mean, if you asked me while I was making Starlet if I would be shooting the next film on an iPhone, I would be outraged. I would, there'd be no way in the world I would have considered it. It actually, the whole reason that this came about is, Tangerine in general, is because for a year and a half after Starlet, I was waiting for a much bigger budget film to happen. And it was a completely different subject matter, and it was a full script that was ready to go that we were looking for a cast for. But it's very hard to get cast without financing, and it's very hard to get financing without cast. So we were in this terrible cycle that kept going on for about a year and a half, until the point where I knew I had to make something, or I would just be sitting around for the rest of my life. So I called up Mark Duplass, and I said, a couple years ago, you put it out there that you would like to executive produce a micro budget for me. Is that offer still on the table? And he said, yeah, what's your idea? And I said, Santa Monica and Highland. I think you might know the intersection. He said, yeah, get me a treatment and we'll talk about it.
So just real quickly, when you realized that this other one may not happen because you were caught in this weird zone, what was that like before you said, you know what, I need to get something going here fast? Like, what do you go through?
Well, to tell you the truth, it came down to two things. I looked at a lot of filmmakers around me who were being quite prolific at the time. In particular, I looked at the cinema of Joe Swanberg, and I just was very impressed with how fast he was making films. Also, the Korean director Kim Ki-duk, he was just seemed to have one every year. And so I thought, that because they were so prolific, they've gotten attention for this, and the people who weren't making things were slowly falling off the radar, and I felt I was slowly falling off the radar. So this was a desperate move for me to continue working, number one. And number two, I went to I was still on the tail end of the Starlet festival run, because that can actually run up to 2 years sometimes. It's really because you'll still get requests from film festivals almost 2 years down the line. And I love to travel with film festivals. It's very important to me because making these independent films, there really isn't any money in these movies, and the compensation for me is travel and seeing the world. Anyway, I got to go to New Zealand. Wonderful film festival. Absolutely, like, wonderful programming because they're shortly after Cannes, so they get a lot of the Cannes titles. So I'm there just for 2 weeks watching all these, but then I started watching all, of course, the big Cannes titles, but then all of a sudden I found myself also watching a lot of the smaller independents, like a lot of the Australian indies, and they were made for very little, and I thought, these are inspiring me. Why not make another small film? I mean, I was looking. There were a lot of first and second time films in this selection, and I just loved how it seemed like there was that spirit that these filmmakers had with their films of like just getting out there for the first time and doing it no matter what, with the very little money they had. And I thought, that's basically where I'm at. I'm on my 5th film, but still I have to retain that spirit or I'll die. So it was at the New Zealand Film Festival that I remember making the decision saying, I'm going to go back to the States and I'm going to now focus on a whole new project. And that's why I give the entire staff of the New Zealand Film Festival thanks in the end credits of Tangerine.